Namaste, a very warm welcome to all of you. I'm your host Pawan, and in the third episode of CD Baat, today we'll be discussing the national lockdown, its various aspects, and whether what was done was right, and what is the other impacts of a sustained, prolonged lockdown. To discuss with us on this, today we have our regular host Lavpreet Kaur and a special guest, Ms. Usha Kiran from Hyderabad. She is pursuing her MA in Economics from University of Hyderabad. A warm welcome to both of you. I'd like to ask Usha Kiran first as to what she feels about the lockdown, whether and how has the lockdown been so far for her. Go ahead, Usha.
A very good afternoon, Pavan. Thank you for having me today. So, on the topic of how the lockdown has been for me, well, I would say it's not been particularly productive, but it's not been unproductive all the same. I thought I would get like studying for my coursework done, but more than that, I've been reading different things, reading a lot of novels, reading books, following the news. Of course, I'm starting to feel a little bored. I miss going outside freely, taking the bus, going and eating pastries, going to the supermarket. Like, these are things that were once taken for granted, but now you really start to value them a lot more.
Well, Usha, thanks for that insight. I'm sure most of the people who are listening to this will agree that the lockdown has been productive in some ways and unproductive in many others. I'd like to ask Lovepreet what has her share of what is the experience she has had over the last couple of weeks. Over to you, Lovepreet.
Hey, thanks a lot, Pavan, for the wonderful question. And yeah, the moment the lockdown began, officially it was 24th of March, but yeah, our colleges and schools are shut since March the 15th. And for me, it's almost 2 months now that we've been to college. And I really miss that schedule of college, which we once used to curse. And definitely, the hobbies that we thought would be hobbies are no more hobbies but routines for all of us. So, yes, initially the expectations were that this would last for maybe a week or two and it will end very soon. But eventually, it has stretched into very many months now, and most of us are like getting bored at home. But I think coming up with new ideas and starting this podcast was one of the best things that I've done in the lockdown period. And I hope that everyone enjoys their lockdown post this initiative at least.
Well, Lovepreet, it's a pleasure to be associated on this podcast. I'd like to, however, move on the discussion to bigger aspects. What do you think about the way the lockdown was implemented? Was it the right way? And given that there have been three extensions so far till the 17th of May nationally, what do you think have been the positives and the negatives? So first, I'd like to hear Usha's views, and then Lavpreet, you can put in yours.
Thank you, Pavan, for the question. Now, let's start on a more positive note. So, when the lockdown was first implemented, my understanding was at least that we'll try to increase our infrastructure to support people who are susceptible to the disease or people who are likely to have the disease, people who are like genuinely suffering because of the disease, because there are many asymptomatic carriers of this disease. It's been evident for a while now, even before we had the lockdown, in fact. So, in that sense, it has been positive. There has been an increase in our capacity creation for providing medical services as well as producing some basic medical necessities. Now, moving on to the more negative aspects of it. First of all, the economic cost of this has been enormous. um, at this point it is basically like you can't win either way. You either open the you ease the lockdown norms and people don't follow the rules and you have an increase in cases and hospitals get flooded, otherwise you economically ruin everyone. So in that sense, yeah, the lockdown is starting to like reach it has already reached a tipping point. Let's not be too polite about it. Um, so, and the announcement of the lockdown, and I didn't like the way that they announced in the last minute. They should have told people like moving in 2 or 3 days in advance that we are going to lock the place down. Train tickets and flight tickets are going to be limited. Buses are going to be stopped between state borders. They should have mentally prepared people more, because what you had was people rushing and people breaking open shops and purchasing stuff in some places. People who didn't have many stuff at home, they were confused about the new rules. And aside from that, you have many people who are stranded in different parts of the country who wanted to go back to their native places. These might be like upper class people, middle class people working in a different city, or some migrant labor working in a different state. And as more time has passed, it's become apparent that the lockdown is putting a lot of pressure on these groups of people.
So I agree with Usha over here, and I think she has covered most of the aspects very beautifully, whatever was there regarding the lockdown. Definitely, the implementation of the lockdown was all of a sudden, which is why people felt like they were stuck at places rather than being isolated for their well being. They got no time, absolutely. The announcement was very quick, and even as a student, I had to evacuate from the hostel in a hurry. I was informed very late. We were informed very, very late, and just before a night before the lockdown. And this is what actually troubled people a lot. No doubt the motive behind the lockdown was to provide better health services to people within a matter of time, and to strategize the whole thing also, so that the virus does not spread anymore, because this is really something that would multiply from 2 to 4, 4 to 16, 16 to 64, and this is really dangerous. But unfortunately, now that people were not mentally prepared for the lockdown, the consequences are very significant now. And also, these consequences will be significant in the coming years as well. So, the damaging effect is quite significant as of now. Yes, I absolutely agree with Usha here, and I think she has covered most of the aspects very beautifully in this one shot. Also, I still remember how we were asked to immediately evacuate from our hostels, to leave our hostel rooms as quick as possible and go back to our homes just a night before the lockdown was to be implemented. And it was scary for us. I mean, we did not expect it to extend for so long, and hence we didn't even come home with a lot of stuff. I mean, we just came like, okay, fine, it's a matter of week or two. It's just a measure, protective measure. Nothing will happen as such. The implementation of lockdown was very sudden, which is why people felt like they were stuck in places rather than being isolated for their well-being. Also, no doubt that the motive behind the lockdown was very positive. They wanted to provide people with better health services. Also, they wanted to control the spread of the virus, because this virus is something that would spread from 2 to 4, 4 to 16, and 16 to 64 very, very quickly. And within like a matter of weeks, I would say, the virus is already spread across the globe. And the bad thing was that people were not mentally prepared for this, and hence the negative effects, the disastrous effects of this lockdown are significant now, and will be significant in the coming years as well. So basically, it was really scary for us when our authorities announced that the hostels have to be emptied within 2 days. First of all, we were shocked that the college is shut. 15th of From 15th of March, we had no regular classes, and then the hostel thing, and we were all confused. And that was the time when the spread of coronavirus was not very significant in India, especially in Punjab. We didn't even hear about one case, one positive case in Punjab at that point of time. And we thought that we were hurrying. Our authorities were panicking without a reason. But eventually, within 2 days, the entire district of Fatehgarh Sahib, all the schools, all the colleges, all the hostels, PGs, everything were emptied very quickly, and people were sent back to their hometowns, home districts, or states, respectively. And at that point of time, we really thought that we didn't need a lockdown as of now. And now, when I look back, we talk about what is happening and how it has you know gone the situation has gone so wrong now. We feel that we should have been a little more fast in our action. If only our international and domestic travel would have shut 15 days before 24th of March, we would have been in a better condition. That's what I feel. Because the moment we realized that this was spreading in countries across the globe, if we would have stopped our travel right then and there, it would have been much better in terms of the spread. Though this is just a prediction, I'm not sure if this would have worked, but I feel this would have worked if only we were a little more fast. And that's really that's an irony for me actually.
Well, I concur with both of your opinions on the lockdown and the way it was implemented, and I think there could have been a breather of maybe 1 week or 1.5 weeks before people are actually made aware of what all arrangements are made. And it's a natural question that evolves whether the timing was right or wrong, and we can have views about it. And insofar as your question, Lavkeet, is concerned, yeah, in my own hostel in the university, a lot of my friends who came from interior parts of Odisha, some are from Punjab, some are from Delhi, they did have a problem going back, and one of them I know could not go back because the day he reached the airport to take his flight, to board his flight, he found it was cancelled. There was no prior intimation. So there are some kind of collateral damages due to the lockdown, and people would not go home. Let us shift the discussion to another perspective. So, and that is how have people been utilized in lockdown? So, both of you can put in your views, and I'll start with Usha again. What do you think, and how the scene has been during the lockdown? How have people been utilizing it? If one is work from home culture, that is going to stay, no doubt, and even online classes culture. How do you see the situation panning out, and how are people going about during the lockdown? Is there any? What is your take on it?
Okay, so I'd like to answer your question in two parts, Pawan. The first being on online classes, because I attended an online class for one of my courses. Uh, and there were issues. First of all, many people were not able to access it because their internet connection was weak. I myself faced a lot of problem in getting the feed for the class because my internet is not. It's fine, but it's not great. Aside from that, the presentation of the class, you can't have the same presentation that you have in a regular class in the classroom. It has to change, and the professor may not be sufficiently equipped to carry out that change. Now, moving on to what you were talking about, work from home. Now, work from home is very like professions and skill specific. If you're an IT or a software engineer, if you want to work from home, you can do it. There will be difficulties, like if you want to conceive of a project, it's hard to do it in a work from home setting, regardless of which industry you're in. But if you're a doctor, if you're a nurse, if you're a teacher, the amount of work you can do from home is very limited. And there's another aspect about work from home that has not really been discussed much. Um, yes, we acknowledge that people on the more low scale end of the job spectrum cannot work from home. But also, there's an aspect that people who, particularly in urban areas, I would think more so, people who do these labor class jobs, these working class jobs, they may value going outside their homes. Like their homes are not big, it'll have one room, two rooms maximum, and a bathroom. That's it. There'll be four or five people in the same house. Sitting day in and day out with them is going to be very difficult. In our own case, our maid, she said that she wants to come and work. So she's coming every 2 or 3 days so she can get a bit of a breather away from her own house, where she says she feels very cloistered and overwhelmed by her family. So, yeah, these are things that we have to think about. And it actually just occurred to me that you have a problem if you are surrounded by people, but you also have a problem if you're all alone and you're cooped up in your room. You don't have a roommate and you're away from home. In fact, this reminds me, some people in my father's office, uh, they don't this like there are a few men, bachelors, who stay together. They don't cook their food, they buy it from outside. So because of this lockdown, they have faced a lot of difficulties despite having like proper incomes in getting food because of the setup they had. So these are things that I wouldn't say no one has noticed, but they have in some ways gone under the radar.
Well, Lisha, I agree with that, and even I have had a few cases like that in my circles. So one of them who is in Pune and is working in the IT sector is facing a lot of problems right now because they stay in a PG with his colleagues, and they're having a issue, and that is something, it's a collateral damage, I must say, because it's not easy to get essentials all the time, and yeah, naturally it's a outcome that we have to adjust with. That brings me to the question of the sustaining or the prolonging of the lockdown. Yesterday, the Prime Minister Narendra Modi had a long discussion with the state chief minister, and while many are agreeing that we have to live with the virus and we cannot run away from the virus and therefore living with it is essential, some have asked for opening up of the industries in some way or the other, while some others are very apprehensive about the situation and they have voiced their protest against allowing against interstate railway and all of, and in the short term. I'd like to ask you, Isha, how do you see the things panning out with respect to opening up of the economy?
Okay, so thank you for the question, Pavan. I like how you use the term opening up of the economy. So there are two dimensions to this again. So you first have the opening up as in literally lifting the lockdown in major economic centers of the country and restarting the economy. Now, if we are going to have travel restrictions between states, between even districts, or between the cities and the surrounding areas, you are going to have problems of supply. You're going to have problems of people going back to work, migrant labor. You're going to have many issues which are going to prop up, at least in the short term. But there's another opening up that can go on. Now, there are many companies from mostly developed countries which are interested in diversifying their locations of production. So we can use this opportunity, capitalize on it, and improve our own governance culture as well as start industrializing on a wide scale. So what can we do to improve our governance culture? Well, we have to lift a lot of red tapeism. At the moment, we have a lot of useless labor laws that just help labor unions but don't really create employment for most people in this country. Aside from that, you have a lot of restriction on, say, procuring land. That's a huge hurdle. So there are all these things that can be eased in order to attract more investors. The fact that we have a huge market internally is going to definitely be a pull, provided we aggressively pursue these investments. Aside from that, we do have a problem of execution in our country. For example, take a project that has a deadline in 6 months. At the moment you look at it, the Chinese will finish it in 4 months. We'll be lucky if a major project is finished in 4 years. Forget 4 months. So these are things that have to be rectified. We cannot go on this way. But overall, though I do think we're going to feel the pain of this lockdown for a while, and it may even go for 2 years or more. In the long run, this does present a huge opportunity, and we should definitely capture it. One more thing I would actually like to add is that you see a lot of aversion towards these capitalistic countries among certain sections of society, not society as a whole. Let's be clear about that. But you can all, there is a thing called making allies. An ally is not your best friend, you don't agree with them on anything, but you can benefit from their actions. I think that is something that all our politicians, regardless of political affiliations, should understand. And also, the states can make a lot of effort in capturing these investments. I don't think that people should just leave it up to the central government. We do live in a federalistic governed country, and the burden, like states, should also be scrutinized. We shouldn't just scrutinize the center.
Usha, I agree with you on the point that you made on the economic impact and what we can look at when we are opening up the economy. I'd like to bring in Lavpreet and ask her reading of the situation. Lavpreet, over to you. I also have a follow-up question, Lavpreet. What do you think is going on? How do you see people utilizing the lockdown effectively?
Well, Pavan, I think Usha has answered the question really well with some good intrinsic details. And being an economist, I do expect this from her. The migrant laborer crisis is something that we have discussed in the last podcast as well. This is one issue which is one of the most unfortunate consequences of the prolonged lockdown, along with the others. Definitely, the hard hit sections, including the migrant laborers and some middle class families, businessmen, and all of those who were sustaining at the verge of the economic fall down, all of them are suffering right now. And the whole world is hard hit with the pandemic, but India is especially feeling the punch harder because we were already in a very sensitive situation, a very fragile situation that way. So definitely we need a lot of reforms. We need so many other things to lift up the status of our country, and it will not be easy basically to reach a stable position as of now. What I'm feeling. And as far as the decision of the government to eventually release the lockdown is considered, it's almost like walking on a double bladed knife. So, if we do not open the lockdown, the pandemic and the lockdown might continue to devastate the life of people both health wise and economically, especially for some sections. And if we open the lockdown, then there's a chance that the containment, which we are very proud of, which we have achieved till now, and why we are better than the other countries, might not continue to be so. And it's possible that we might face even larger spread of the virus. As far as the question of utilization comes, we have all gone through a sort of a sine graph like emotion in this period of time. What I mean to say is, in the 2 months, we have been experiencing up emotions and down emotions. If it started with excitement, with 2 weeks of a break between our otherwise busy schedules full of final year project reports, assignments, dissertations, and competitions. Most of us started with rest but eventually grew restless. Now, most of us are looking for some engagements. Indeed, work from home and online education, like Usha said, are becoming a potential future of work and education. But then there are still many loopholes, which Usha has already addressed, and I think she has done it so well. And I'm hoping that the implementation will get better in the near future because this seems to be the future of our country. Apart from that, we're all loving to cook these days. No one but our mothers, at least, have got some rest, I feel. We all are coming close to our hobbies, which we otherwise ignored in our routines. We are all coming close to painting, dancing, writing, singing, speaking, so many other things which we otherwise ignored, and somehow we are able to feel good with that kind of engagement. That's what I feel. We're all getting time with our families, which most of the hostelers or people who work out in other cities or other states crave for. You and me, people like us, all these students who have been studying and staying in hostels basically, are feeling this sort of very close to their families. But at the same time, as Usha addressed, excess of anything is bad. So we also see a contrasting trend of increasing domestic violence maybe. So we have to be very cautious of how we engage ourselves in this free time. We've got so much time and we have to engage ourselves in constructive activities, and people can take up their hobbies, and I suppose they can also take up whatever talent they have. We have an ample of courses available online. So many boot camp courses have been started by various associations, and they are providing short term courses to people for skill enhancement. And I feel this is the best time, to make yourself very applicable, or what you say, very suitable for any kind of job that you want to own, or any kind of career option that you want to take up in the future. So this is a very good time for that, I suppose, and many of us are utilizing it well.
Well, that was a very enlightening discussion. We'd like to now move on to the issue of psychological impact that this lockdown has had. There are two aspects to it. One is those who are being, those are often going out, and the extrovert kind of people find it very difficult to sit back at in their homes for such a long time. There's also the issue of confidence. Whether this lockdown has been able to instill confidence in people that the coronavirus can be battled via this lockdown. Is it is the confidence strong enough, and are people convinced? So these are the two questions I have. Usha can answer first, and then Lavi, you can do it.
Okay, so the first question seems more to be Lovepreet's area of interest. I can't really comment much on mental illness, except the fact I think that of late, there has been a tendency to see that if someone is feeling sad because something unfortunate happened, he is depressed. If someone is getting angry, this person has anger management issues. Like at certain times, these feelings are completely justified. That doesn't make it a mental illness. Having a minor inconvenience or a major inconvenience and reacting to it is not mental illness. That's just a pointer I would like to put there. Now, moving on to the question of the confidence people are feeling. So, it's a mix. It really depends on what your situation is at the moment. If you're feeling confident or not, there will be parts of society that are feeling confident that yes, we can get past this virus. Look at the numbers in these other countries. Look at the numbers in our country, which is massive, mind you. We are the second most populous country on the planet, and we still don't have as many cases as the United States. So there is that aspect that people are probably feeling confident that yes, we can move past this. However, there are people who are probably like worried. They might have seen people breaking the lockdown. Now we have to get one thing clear. If someone has broken the lockdown, we can get angry and punish the person, but it doesn't change the fact that the virus might have transmitted. This is just increasing our problem. So in such a scenario, I don't know how confident people who witness the breaking of lockdowns or look at videos online of people breaking the lockdown, how confident they would be feeling. Another thing I would like to bring up is the fact that we don't know this disease, so we might be exaggerating how dangerous this is. For example, in New York, they did antibody testing and they found more than 2 million New Yorkers already had antibodies for the coronavirus. So, if that is the case, that means that a far smaller percentage are vulnerable to this disease than what we previously anticipated, and this disease is probably far more prevalent than we anticipated when the pandemic first started. So, given this, we have to shift strategy from simply isolating people in their houses or wherever they can find shelter to figuring out which groups are most vulnerable and how we can protect these groups through some changes in our day-to-day behavior. And also, if someone has certain risk factors that make them more susceptible to the disease, is there any way we can identify them and give them more support so that everyone else can go about their day, I wouldn't say normally, but relatively more normally than what is going on right now. So, yeah, these are things we have to keep in mind. Confidence is all well and good, but confidence is not going to solve the situation we are in right now.
Yes, several reports, news, and so many other sources, along with our own interpretation, says that there's a proof of a range of psychological conditions, from post-traumatic stress symptoms to confusion, depression, anger, stress, isomania, emotional exhaustion. There is so much going on. Above that, people these days are constantly cleaning surfaces all the time, cleaning their floors with disinfectants, washing their cars and washing their hands with sanitizers and hand washes, because they have this psychology that coronavirus is everywhere and it'll hit us hard any moment. So this OCD thing is like taking a new road these days. It has extended so much that people are scared. More importantly, because people are confusing social distancing with emotional distancing, that's causing a lot of problems. So we have to understand that there has to be a physical distancing, which will also become a trend for the future. We will never be doing the same things again which we have been doing in the past. But emotional distancing is a problem. It is a disease. If people are not coming together, talking to each other, and are distancing themselves from each other, not sharing their thoughts and beliefs, not expressing their ideas with each other, that can cause other problems, like depression. These are already existing in our world, depression and emotional pressure on people, and they are distancing themselves from others. And now, if they are locked down inside a cubicle or inside a room and not even talking to someone via social media platforms, or maybe generally on phone or with their family members, that can add to their symptoms of depression and mental illness. That will cause more problem. Apart from that, the isolation fear in this lockdown era is driving nervousness among the people. You know, people are feeling very lonely and helpless, and that feeling of sadness and that count of the people feeling depressed is increasing every single day. We are able to see that we have to activate our social network, even if we are sitting remote at very far distances from our families, or even we are sitting with them in the house. We are supposed to talk to them and develop that sense of communication with everyone, which is very, very important. So distancing should not be interpreted as social or emotional disengagement. Fostering a sense of social togetherness, whether on the phone or through acts of altruism or by helping others in the neighborhood, it is essential in this time, that we help people out. We can't just be isolated in that way, that we leave humanity on one side. So yes, the ways in which people can actually help themselves is by talking out their stuff to their friends, their relatives, their family members. They can also help others who need them in their neighborhood. They can help the poor, they can feed people, they can provide shelter to someone who is right now who is stranded. And these are some common ways in which we can feel engaged with the society. We can still be a part of the society while being practicing social distancing, right? Apart from that, this is one such initiative that we have taken, that even though we are all miles apart right now, isolated in our respective homes, still we have to have that feeling of togetherness and integrity within us. And we have to have that hope within us that things will get better. Until the time they get better, we still have to keep up our morals and keep ourselves very, very happy. That's how it works for me, I think. Also, it's not to forget that your physical health is associated with your mental health. So you have to think very positively. People have to be together in all of this. Even though they are physically apart, they have to have this feeling of commonness and integrity, and they have to feel each other's pain. And there are so many people who are facing bigger problems in life. We are still in a good condition, that we're all at home, we're all safe at least. So we can also extend our helping hand towards those who are not even fortunate enough to get this safe environment right now.
Lovepreet and Visha, I think you two have discussed the issue in great detail, brought out many aspects which I think warrants a lot of discussion, be it the economic costs, be it the migrant labor issue, and the psychological aspects. Lovepreet's point that distancing shouldn't mean disengagement is very important and is very relevant to this discussion. We must not lose emotional connect, and it's as important as mental balance in these times. Now, when I look at the lockdown and all of the issues that have been discussed so far, I think to the credit of the state government and the central government both, they have managed to handle it in a fairly good manner. Because when we look at India's case relative to other countries which are as big as population and with as high a population density as we have it, I think we have we are in a good position so far. But there are a lot of problems, of course, and I think the only panacea to this issue is at the moment to bring out an economic package or stimulus, so to say, to rescue the MSME sector and other affected sectors, and and it is very important we do that. And so far as the psychological aspects is concerned, I personally think it indeed can sway one's mind into getting into a lot of unhealthy stuff. And there are many options one can always have when it comes to this kind of outreach. So we have a lot of online courses and online master classes teaching you a lot of things. From something very small as cooking to a very big thing as planning something, a conference, a virtual conference, if you will. A lot of these kind of things can always happen and are happening. So the psychological impact, in my opinion, is not to be underestimated, nor should it be exaggerated. There is a certain point beyond which it needs to be discussed, and that's my opinion. And when it comes to the you know the bigger aspect, whether the lockdown will continue, will be extended, we don't know. The lockdown has been extended twice as of now, and today we have our Prime Minister addressing the nation at 8 p.m. Let's see what he has to say. On that note, thanks for joining, and a special mention to Isha for taking her time out to join this podcast as a guest. Thank you, Lovepreet. Signing off, Pawan Kumar.